Let's come back to this reach idea, because the next thing that can happen is that on the left-hand side, I can show you the reach between 2 points. But now suppose that I use that new information to do a more targeted search, and I discover in this example that I've actually seen your vehicle at this location at 1720. Now, in a normal search, this wouldn't be in scope, but it turns out that we've got access to some CCTV, and so we target the fact that, that's interesting. We seem to have found that license plate. When we do that at a particular time, you can see now that my scope, my reach, has completely collapsed with just one additional sighting. So I've gone from a very wide search area now to a very contained search area. And indeed, for part of this analysis, I've really only got one road option, which is very, very valuable. Now, if I've got an intermediate point, I need to consider arrival and departure points, arrival and departure times, because I might have an intermediate point for which I don't have a timestamp. It could be, as I mentioned earlier, it could be that I found a bag belonging to an abduction victim. Now, if that's the case, then what I can calculate is the earliest and latest arrival and the earliest and latest departure. So in order to do that, I need to know the fastest path into a particular waypoint and the fastest path out of that waypoint. It could also be that I'm dealing with a location where I know something happened, and it might be, for example, that I've discovered a body and our experts examine the body and say it would have taken 15 minutes to dispose of the body in this way. So now we have what we call a dwell time. So how does that work? Well, if we look at this example, one of the things that I can do is I can say, well, if I leave point 1, the earliest I can get to point 2 is, in this case, 17 minutes later. And if I take that particular route and get there as quickly as possible, I've now got between 17 minutes past and 50 minutes past to get from point 2 to point 3. And that now gives me a significant reachable area in the second leg of my journey. So the earliest I could arrive is 1717, and the earliest I can depart, therefore, is 1717. What's the other extreme? Well, the other extreme is that I leave point 2 as late as possible, which in this case is 17:21:30, and then take the most direct route from my waypoint to my end point. If that's the case, then I've now got 21 minutes and 30 seconds for this first part of the journey. And in that case, this is now my reachable area in the first part of the journey. So they're my two extremes. What I've just created is a window where you could have been at that second waypoint between 1717 and 17:21:30. I've now narrowed that down. Why is this useful? Well, I may now be able to go to, for example, CCTV from local shops or a local house where I haven't yet been able to justify door knocking. And not only can I request their footage, but I can also be very, very specific about a very narrow time window that I'm now interested in. And so this saves an enormous amount of time and resources when I can now target not just a particular camera, but a particular narrow time interval.